Hey, 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 how's everyone doing tonight? Ooh, I'm much bigger on the screen than y'all imagined, right? How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to On the Ring Apron. As you know, I am Steve, and hopefully I'm in the camera here. Yeah, I'm inside the post. So hey, welcome to our usual Friday show. Joining me in here from my left, my beautiful co-host here, Kia.
Hello, how are you?
And tonight, not only are we going to be bringing you guys an On the Ring Apron, but hey, thanks to the end of Smackdown, looks like I'm going to be working a little overtime tonight. We have new women's tag team champions tonight. Boss and Hug, getting it done. You're Bailey.
No,
I already did the Sasha.
I'm not Bailey. I'm sorry. It's not going to work. We already have our own personal Bailey.
That's true. And who knows, she just might come see us in a little while. So take a good look at your Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss plates, because this may be the last time we see them for a little while, because right after our show, stay with us, maybe about 10 minutes or so after, we will be putting the Sasha and Bailey plates on.
You will be putting the Sasha and Bailey plates on.
That's right.
Yeah.
She films and cracks me up at the same time, but she does a wonderful job. But for the main part, though, of course, we're very excited about Bailey and Sasha getting the job done. We're thrilled about it. But at the same time, we also have a lot to discuss as this weekend we head into what is personally for us something very exciting, our first NXT Takeover pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So, as you guys have no doubt seen with WrestleMania and with Money in the Bank that we did previously, we do a special show on the Saturday directly before pay-per-view weekends. We call it Top Rope Spoilers. It's at 7 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. We'll be doing it live here on Instagram. It'll be posted to YouTube right after, where we go over all of the matches that we have for that upcoming pay-per-view and get an opportunity to talk about them.
I'm actually excited. This will be our first NXT pay-per-view in our house, actually.
I'm looking forward to it, absolutely. And I noticed that I'm looking at who joined in and how fitting that Boss Hug connection. Haley, Savannah, they joined in our group here. So,
hi, ladies.
Hey, ladies. I know y'all have got to be just jumping through your ceiling right now. There's going to be noise complaints in your house here, I'm sure, pretty soon for what we saw. But we're going to be getting to SmackDown here in a little bit, so let's take the time to do what we normally do, of course, and that is we're going to go over Raw and what we saw tonight on SmackDown. NXT, we will make sure we go over, but because this weekend is going to be devoted to NXT material, we do kind of skim over what we saw at the go-home edition, unless it was something that was just of critical importance, so that way we can be able to give NXT its full focus for later in the week.
Yeah.
So we begin with Monday Night Raw. As they build up, again, we are just over a week away from BackLash. BackLash immediately following behind in your house this upcoming weekend, so we actually get two pay-per-view weekends in a row. It's going to be fun for us. We're going to be doing a lot of standing over these next couple of weeks. You know, normally we sit for our show, but we stand on the pay-per-view weekends.
I don't know if my legs can take that.
Well, we're going to have to. Come on. We're Atlanta United, but hey, they're out of season, so, you know, we've kind of lost our stand here at the Corn 15, you know. But anyway, Raw is showing itself. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley continuing to run their storyline. And they're really doing a good job of not only giving Bobby Lashley the good mouthpiece of having MVP on his side, but at the same time really making him a credible threat, especially with the way Raw ended with him putting him in the full Nelson.
The only thing I don't like about the whole storyline with Bobby Lashley and MVP is that Lana is trying to interfere. I think, honestly, she needs to be sidelined. You know, out of the match, away from the match, away from the ring.
Well,
gone.
Well, I've been saying it. Lana is better seen, not heard. But you can also tell that she's not going to go quietly. She's not going to let her husband just go off with MVP to become champion without her having some type of involvement. Now, whether it's a positive involvement to Bobby unintentionally or intentionally, or if she intends on making sure he doesn't win, that remains to be seen.
I feel like she's been a distraction.
Oh, why wouldn't she be? Have you seen her?
That's not the point. I mean, yes.
Look at me from the side.
The physical appeal, that's great, but the whole mouthpiece, Bobby Lashley needs one mouthpiece, and that is MVP, and he's doing his job. As much as I do not like it, I thought Leo Rush was better, and yes, that's my opinion. But with that being said, go to the side, let MVP do his job, let Bobby Lashley do their job, and you just stay out of it.
That's true. But they are doing, as I said, a good job of making Lashley look like a credible threat. And with only one more week to go, probably, you get your routine, distraction or your routine, run in at the end of Raw next week. But they really are doing a legitimate job of making Lashley look like a person who not only has the mouthpiece of a person who's going to be able to be talked up as a champion, but also the game to back it up. So unlike, and I've said publicly on the show, it never truly felt like Seth Rollins was going to beat Drew McIntyre that early in his reign. You know, and McIntyre has done a fantastic job, in my opinion, as WWE champion up to this point. But I could very well see Lashley having the belt put on him, especially when you've got MVP doing most of the talking.
Yeah. I mean, the way I view things, again, McIntyre has been a fighting champion, has been willing to, you know, bring the fight to people, and if, you know, he's sitting here and they're attacking him, he's willing to, you know, kind of roll with the punches. Well, with Bobby Lashley, again, being a credible threat, it may be where he may have it taken for a little bit and he has to go back and fight for it, you know?
Absolutely.
So, we'll see how that goes.
We do see some more people stepping in. Hey, welcome to On the Ring Apron, our go-home edition, getting ready for In Your House this upcoming Sunday. As we already said, in case you joined us a little bit later, a little overtime for me tonight because we have a plate exchange that's going to be immediately following this, maybe 5-10 minutes after. I need just a few minutes of prep time because we have new women's tag team champions as a result of Smackdown. Hopping to that in a second. Continuing on with Raw, we also had the champion versus champion clash. The Raw Women's Champion Asuka against the NXT Women's Champion Charlotte. The match ends up being one of good contests, but eventually ending in a count-out win for Charlotte after Asuka was distracted by an interfering Nia Jax.
I think with that is, you know, as much as Asuka, you know, is focused and she's there, I think Nia, again, is meant to be a distraction, but at the same time, I feel like, how would you even put it, though? Like, just let the women do what they need to do and just keep going.
Well, at this point, Nia, I think, is fully in, in Asuka's head,
Exactly.
Especially with what happened later on in Raw when you had Nia taking on Kairi, Nia winning by pinfall after a leg drop over Kairi, something, of course, that was edited out. It's made, very much on social media. They had Kairi during the match when she hit her head on the ring steps and was thrown in. Got a pretty nasty gash, a good 2 or 3 inch gash across her head. They edited it out on Raw, but she went on social media, almost immediately afterwards, showed it off. Nia, of course, catching a ton of flack on social media, but I mean, injuries are going to happen. From what I saw, I don't think that one was intentional per se. I mean, she threw her into the steps. There's a significant size difference between Kairi and Nia, so obviously, you throw, Kairi, there's going to be a difference there.
But see, I like the fact that Kairi just, as small as she is, she has a lot of heart. I've said this since the Mae Young Classic. I've been saying this for a long time. She has heart, just like you would see with any other wrestler, but she keeps rolling with it. It doesn't matter if you get a gash, she gets hurt. She just keeps getting up and she goes with it. And I love that about Kairi.
It's like the little fight in the dog.
Exactly.
The little dog in the fight.
Exactly.
Or however the quote goes. But, they're setting it up again where, there's a lot of mind games right now, something that Asuka's usually pretty good at and usually has the upper hand. But in this particular circumstance, they have truly made it to where Nia is the one that's now starting to play the mind games with Asuka. Making this a very legitimate match. Now, up to this point, Nia has never beaten Asuka. It'll be curious to see if now this finally when she gets her number.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think with her being in Asuka's head, do you think it kind of throws Asuka off her game? Me personally, I think it kind of does. You understand? If you're going to be in someone's head, you need to make sure that you go for it, and you need to get in there and make sure they're off their game to where they cannot get up.
Absolutely. So we have a week to go. I don't anticipate much back and forth. Maybe a tag match of some kind. But we'll see how they play it off. There was, of course, for anyone who joined me for my plate exchange earlier this week, we ended up changing out 6 different title belts. One that we saw on the show, I'm going to get to change out again here later tonight. But one of the titles that did change hands this week happened on Raw, and it was R-Truth getting his baby back for the 37th time. He goes all the way to Foxborough, Massachusetts, pins Rob Gronkowski, wins back the 24/7 title.
Always keeping it entertaining with that one.
He does.
If you don't tune in to watch that, what's wrong with you?
The fact is, and I said it on last week's show, that it just brings an entertainment value that, you can be sitting at your work at 1 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, and all of a sudden something's going to pop up on your WWE Network app. Hey, free now, unless you're buying the pay-per-views, but hey, you can get it for free now. you're able to, have some comedy from a guy who, just brings nothing but that to the table, but also makes it fun and entertaining along the way.
But at the same time, he's a very serious champion. As much as he likes to joke and kid and whatnot, he loves that title. That title is his baby. He will go to the end of the world for it, and he will do whatever he has to get her back.
Absolutely. Speaking of new champions, also, we did have our newest champion on Monday Night Raw, Apollo Crews, follow through with what he said he was going to do. He said he would defend the United States Championship against an opponent of his choosing. He ends up choosing, to my surprise, certainly, he chose Kevin Owens.
Interesting, isn't it?
I really thought it would maybe be Ricochet, or it would be maybe Cedric Alexander, somebody, who had been fitting the mold, had been teaming with him. But to go with Kevin Owens, really sets the door open, because Owens, of course, has also been having issues with Angel Garza and with Andrade, same as Apollo. So it seemed like the perfect match. And, of course, what you expected to happen on Raw is exactly what happened. Angel Garza and Andrade come out. They make their presence known. It leads to a tag match that ultimately they're able to be the victors on. Apollo, albeit by an odd circumstance, able to successfully retain his U.S. title, but he looks like he's going to be a fighting champion, at least for now.
And it's a good thing. You always want someone who's going to hold the title to actually want to fight for it. It should be the prestige of the title that makes you want to go up against everybody else and have people, instead of having a target on your back, just kind of bring it to the people. Let whoever come in and try to take it off you, and then say, as much as I love this fight, I'm going to retain.
Exactly. And then, of course, continuing to build up, the final piece to all the Backlash puzzle for Monday Night Raw, setting up, I will put in quotes, the greatest wrestling match ever between Edge and Randy Orton.
Whose opinion?
Apparently theirs, or the WWE Network's Vince, whoever you want to talk to. They're really doing a job of building this prestige that this is going to be, the greatest wrestling match you've ever seen, considering that this will be Edge's first singles match of any type in over 9 years. Randy Orton also not exactly wrestling that many singles matches himself either. This has, in my opinion, all the makings of some type of swerve. A match that they'll hype up and everything else, and then it's going to be one that will be nothing like that, like instant RKO, instant spear, match over in seconds. I don't necessarily know if that's the way they'll work it, or they may try to live it up to the hype, try to have them go 20, 25 minutes, because we know they're both capable, but I've seen probably, 10,000 wrestling matches, separate matches in my life. To definitively call any match the greatest of all time, this is going to be a tough one to follow. I don't know about you guys. I'm still going with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker from WrestleMania 25, the first time they fought. That's going to be a really tough one to top. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I think they may be overhyping this one a little much.
One of the greatest matches for me, per se, would be the Shield versus Evolution. So to me, that to have...
Which time? The first one or the elimination match?
I would say both. I love both.
That elimination match was a good one, despite the fact that the Shield picked up a sweep. That ended up being a good, half-hour, 40-minute match. It was a great match. The night before they broke up. We had one night in 10 years where we did not have any type of cable. We've missed one Raw in probably 8 or 9 years. The night the Shield broke up was the night it happened. Just heartbreaking. But, it is what it is. Hey, they deserve to know we're heartbroken.
Let's move on.
Absolutely. So Raw definitely, doing its part to build up Backlash, because as I did state that we are going to be doing a lot of NXT material this weekend. We will go very quickly through what we saw in NXT, of course, as you would expect in a go-home edition. A lot of video packages, a lot of setup. Of course, they have the 2 video segments to hype up the 2 main championship matches. Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream for the NXT Championship, which is now going to be a backlot brawl, apparently a ring that will be surrounded by cars that will all have their headlights on. So not just one spotlight, but a lot of spotlights.
But we've seen a match like this before with John Cena and Eddie Guerrero, except,
Parking lot brawl.
Yeah, we've seen something similar to it, but, let's see how this one goes compared to what we saw with John Cena and Eddie Guerrero.
But the other video package, of course, for the Women's Championship, Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's title. That one, in my opinion, I thought was extremely well done. They did an excellent job of really building up Io and Rhea as people who, even though they do things completely different, they, are, dead set on the same goal. And then, of course, Charlotte, her usual demeanor of hey, I'm here, I'm training, but I'm here because I'm the best, and I'm going to prove it yet again.
But I love the video package for Io, how they had that be mysterious, and, she had this mystique about her, and it's just like, whoa, compared to Rhea, who seems straightforward, she's going to go for it. She gets up in the morning, she eats, she trains, she goes for the gusto.
Well, Rhea also, playing off the very strong babyface character of, I had a great match at Mania, I took a chance, I called out Charlotte, I called my shot, and it didn't work the way I thought it would. I called out the big gun knowing I'd be the underdog, even though I was the champion going into Mania, but it didn't pan out, but I'm learning from it. I'm still young, I've made mistake, and now I'm ready for another shot at it.
It's just that's a learning experience for her, and I think, honestly, she probably did learn from it.
Well, I hope so, and and we're going to see how things go this upcoming Sunday, about 48 hours from now. But, of course, the big story coming out of NXT this weekend that we can have a lot of time to discuss was the finals of the Cruiserweight interim tournament, which had El Hijo de Fantasma and Drake Maverick put on an instant Cruiserweight classic. Definitely a match worthy of a championship final. The match ends up ending, if you didn't watch it, and if you haven't seen it, you got about 3 seconds to step out of the thing before I tell about it. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the mysterious masked guys who have been trying to get Fantasma for quite some time come out at a time in which it looked like Maverick was getting ready to win. And, of course, it's been well known Maverick's career on the line in this tournament. He had to win the championship or he was done with WWE. Maverick instead decides that he's going to jump the ring and is going to attack the two guys that are coming after Fantasma to fight them off to defend El Hijo. But as a result, when he gets back in the ring, he gets hit with a super kick and a finisher, and El Hijo Fantasma wins the title, also retiring Drake Maverick, or so we thought.
Like I told you, I feel like the Masked Men may have been coming after him, but that night, I feel like they were trying to kind of help him. So was he in on the Masked Men coming out? Do we know if he was in on it? I think it's just one big setup, or it was a setup.
Well, it's going to be one way or another. I mean, the Masked Men have been very clear they've been wanting Fantasma for quite some time, but they haven't been able to successfully get it. Drake doing a good job of making sure that didn't happen either. But a fantastic play. Fantasma celebrating his moment because he is the interim Cruiserweight Champion and will remain officially recognized as the Cruiserweight Champion. Another plate exchange in the future. Unfortunately, nothing yet because I don't even know if Fantasma knows what his plates look like yet, so I sure don't know. But when we do have that, that will come up here in a future episode. But they did a very great segment after Fantasma went back. Drake Maverick saying thank you. You can see the tears balling up in his eyes and everything else until he gets to the top of the stage and they're waiting for him. It's Triple H with a hug and with just one simple line. He leans in and you could barely hear it, but he said, "You've earned this," and he hands him a new contract.
Which, again, Triple H is who people want to see. He's, in my opinion, I feel like Triple H cares for his personal kids, his NXT kids, if you want to put it, and to do what you did, it makes you look like not just the good guy, but someone who genuinely says, you deserve it, you belong here, I want you here, everybody wants you here, you just put on a hell of a performance.
Well, here's the thing, and it's interesting that you mentioned the NXT kids. He wasn't an NXT guy who started in.
No,
he started on Monday Night Raw. He went to 205 Live. He went back to Monday Night Raw. He spent time between all of the different shows, and then he came to NXT for a small amount of time, really wasn't doing much, and then was asked to be part of the Cruiserweight tournament. He wasn't an NXT kid. He had to truly earn his way into NXT.
Well, now he is, and it's a good thing. So I'm just going on record saying, make that shot worth it.
Absolutely, because you hear so many people say it. It almost sounds cliche. You never know when you're going to get your next shot.
Exactly.
So congratulations to Drake.
Congratulations.
A ton of people out there I know were very much behind his story ever since he made that very emotional goodbye. And making things very clear. A lot of people saying this was all a storyline the whole time. It absolutely was not. It was a storyline up until around after Maverick's second match. And then they started seeing people get behind him, and they started seeing a huge following, and it's very clear then that they kind of, reversed back, thought about it some more, and made the decision that not only was Maverick going to get to the finals, but also we're going to find a way to keep him, but it didn't necessarily need to be him winning the title to do it.
Exactly.
So Drake Maverick now a full-fledged member of NXT. I hope it works out because a lot of fans are behind him.
I know I am.
Right, and it'll be curious to see how they use him heading into next week's NXT. He's currently not planned to be on the card for the Sunday, but we'll see how things go. We of course will, as I said, because we do have In Your House coming up this weekend. Plenty of coverage. Questions with the Queen. It will be an NXT Takeover edition tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you join us live for that. Have your questions ready, so that way we can be able to do so. We've gotten a lot of them in already, but remember, we're keeping the theme to NXT Takeovers. We can talk about this current one. She'll answer any question except her picks, or we can talk about any NXT Takeover that you've seen up to this point. There's been 27 of them, so there's a lot of great material and a lot of fantastic matches to go through over the last 6 years.
Can't wait.
And then, of course, if you want our picks, Top Rope spoilers for NXT In Your House tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, live right here on Instagram, followed by YouTube later on that evening. So we now move to tonight's SmackDown, where you got a lot of emotion and also a lot of comedy, thanks to Miz and Morrison choosing to try to make life a living hell for Braun Strowman, and they did.
For the majority of the show, they
exactly. Messing with his protein powder to where it would explode. A very, very costly mistake of putting the bucket of, I guess you're going to call it Nickelodeon slime. Slime on the wrong side, and it falls on Kayla instead of Braun. That may not go well, because I've never heard Kayla cuss before tonight.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
You bastards.
That was pretty funny.
She's not happy right now.
Would you be?
And then, of course, shattering the windows of his retro antique car. That's a $200,000+ car. That is not something that it's not cheap. Well. But of course, Braun getting the last laugh in the end, tipping the van over, as we've seen him do 100 times. So the mind game's working for a period of time, but it's clear that it's going to end up probably backfiring.
But it's a 2-on-1 handicap match.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. To me, I love the comic effect. I love the comedy of what Miz and Morrison bring to the table. But at the same time, I don't feel any part of me that feels like there's any threat that Braun's losing the title. None at all.
No.
This is going to be, they'll put on a good match. They'll probably control most of it, but the 2-on-1. But everything about this just get this match done, and let's move on to the next storyline. Fiend. But we'll see where we'll go with that. You had a couple of other matches, Lacey Evans and Sonya Deville continuing their storyline.
You mean Daddy Deville?
Daddy Deville. Well, I guess it needs to be you doing that with her choice. Hey, happy Pride Month, by the way, for anybody who's watching with us that supports that or is part of that. We absolutely believe in your fight, believe in your cause. We support everybody that's out there, and I think we've made it very clear on our profile exactly what our feelings are through everything that you've been seeing. But lost in everything is it is Pride Month. We've got a lot of friends out there, a lot of followers who are very supportive of that cause. We are as well. So by all means, have a great month, and not just this month, but all months. Be happy, because it's hard enough to find love without adding any restrictions. Believe me, we get it.
Yeah, we do very much.
But Sonya Deville coming out, getting distracted by Mandy Rose, so it's now clear that storyline's not quite done yet, which resulted in Sonya getting distracted, allowing Lacey to hit the women's right to knock Sonya out. Yeah, love it. But it's clear that Mandy and Sonya aren't quite done yet.
Because I wasn't I thought the storyline was over until we saw what we saw tonight.
Exactly. Otis continuing to be built up, as a good, strong face, which is what you want, especially if you're holding the Money in the Bank contract.
Exactly.
I'm still trying to figure out where he's going to use it. And that's the only other thing I potentially could see, because actually this just kind of popped into my head while I was thinking about this. What if Miz and Morrison were to somehow, pull it off, but Otis is standing right there waiting against a very tired Miz and Morrison, remembering that either one of them could technically be pinned to lose the title. Maybe that's how Otis gets it, because I don't think anyone realistically thinks Otis is beating Braun Strowman to get it. Even with Otis' strength and size, he's up against someone who can match it point for point.
Yeah, he is.
So I like where this is going, building up Otis. to go with it. Shorty G,
I'm getting tired of the short jokes.
I was
done.
just heading that way as well.
It's not funny anymore. It's
It's not.
It's old. It's just throw it out.
And you can even see the look on Shorty's face, as they're talking about it. He's just standing there, just like, are we really running this? Running these same jokes again? But Shorty G, finding a way out of catering to get himself a match. He teams with the tag team champions, The New Day, against Cesaro, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Mojo Rawley. Rawley and his team picking up the win tonight. But it allowed for, an opportunity for, these different levels to, be able to see what they can do. And my mistake, by the way, I said Mojo won. Shorty G's team won.
Yeah.
But it also likely sets up your next tag team contenders, likely being Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. I could definitely see them being tag team champions at some point, if not coming up soon.
I've stated on previous shows, Cesaro can work with literally anybody, so I could see that working.
Multiple tag team title runs with multiple partners, which is, that tells you a person who, they talk about people having range. Well, there's your range right there. Who do you need me to team with? Who do you want me to be champion with? He's been champion with T.J. Wilson, who of course was Tyson Kidd, Sheamus, and now potentially looking at the possibility of Shinsuke Nakamura as well. But of course, SmackDown headlined tonight by the main event, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending the women's tag team titles against Sasha Banks and the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. And as we already mentioned earlier in the show, title change. Sasha able to roll back Nikki Cross to get the win. So we now have hashtag Bayley 2 belts. I know there's at least one person sitting at our side that is thrilled about that. So when we get on to Plate Exchange here in a few minutes, make sure you join in because we might be having someone jump in here to join us for that. But, it's interesting though because they had really built up the storyline back on Raw of the Iconics really getting the best of Alexa and Nikki, and you got to wonder, like, the Iconics are now sitting there going, okay, look, we've been beating the snot out of the champs for weeks.
Where's our turn?
Now they get to not only get a title shot, but then they win. Are they going to come back?
I feel like the Iconics are being thrown kind of to the side. I believe if we go in and we look, I feel like they may feel the exact same way. Honestly, if they've been beating Alexa and they've been beating Nikki Cross, why don't they get their due? They deserve a chance.
Well, of course, the initial thought, of course, is triple threat, 3-team, triple threat match, maybe a BackLash. But it does open up one door that, I didn't think about until just before we went on the air tonight, that remember that the women's tag team champions have the ability to be able to defend or show up on any show they want. And just because Bayley is holding the SmackDown women's title, that doesn't negate that effect. So now you have the ability to be able to take your SmackDown champion and move her anywhere you want. And of course, Charlotte's already getting that privilege with NXT. So you really now have the ability to move your women's champions really to whatever show you want them to be on.
It's like their own invitational.
Exactly, but as long as Bayley and Sasha hold the gold, congratulations to them. Second time they've held the titles. So, we'll see what they can do because there, of course, has been a lot of speculation about when's the inevitable Sasha-Bayley breakup going to happen.
There
were people clamoring that maybe tonight was the night. Also, of course, a lot of clamoring that potentially Nikki and Alexa could break up tonight.
Or you were hearing technically a heel turn, but we didn't know what team it would have come from.
And in the end, you get neither, and you end up getting the team that initially lost their titles a year and a half ago after such a short reign, finally getting back the women's titles that they had been holding on for so long.
As much as I am upset about, Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss losing, I do want to see Bayley and Sasha have a longer reign than what they had. I feel like if they were the first women to actually hold it, why not give them a longer reign? Let them fight for it, work for it. I mean, they're good together. As much as people are sitting here saying, I want to see a heel turn, I want to see this, I want to see a longer reign.
Absolutely. And especially if the what you've been reading about is true about their holding off the Bayley and Sasha Banks match now further back than they thought because they want to do it when fans are in the crowd. And I will say I think that is deserved. A match of that caliber that you've been building up for this much time and this many years, if you're going to have it, it is a stage that is built for only one of three places. It's either got to be at SummerSlam, it's got to be at Survivor Series, or it's got to be at WrestleMania.
But also, when that happens, and it will at some point, I want to see what Sasha comes up with, because you know her
gear,
her
good
theme,
Lord.
her club, everything.
And with all due respect, that's we talk about Sasha's gear. You know, Bayley's been putting out some good gear ever since she started her heel run. I really think both of them could absolutely blow it out of the water. And I've been saying on this show publicly, you don't need them to have the SmackDown Women's title for them to be a main event caliber match, even in a place like WrestleMania. You could have the two of them be this generation's, you know, Rock Cena or Rock Hogan or, you know, Cena Batista, whatever huge name rivalry, Rock Austin. You know, you could have your first real women's rivalry where the two of them could be friends when they need to be, but they're better when they're enemies.
You mean like the Mickey and Trish?
That's
or
true.
the Trish and Lita.
Trish and Lita, you know, because they had fantastic times when they teamed up, but they also were even better when they were head-to-head against each other, especially when you left them alone and let them do what they do best. And really, I think that's where you're heading with this, but, you know, they've got about 100 different directions. And then, of course, as we mentioned, where do the Iconics fit into all this? So they got a lot of questions to answer. So, you know, for go-home editions of Raw and SmackDown next week, you know, there's potentially still a lot there to play with.
There's a lot that you can work with. And please, as we've said, let these writers get it right. Do not fail, do not lap, do not slack, because what you don't want to do is have an awesome storyline take place and then it just falls flat.
Well, that was something that, you know, when we started this this whole COVID-19 pandemic thing, you know, what so many people were complaining about prior to WrestleMania this year was storyline writing had really kind of gone out the door. You know, there weren't really these great storylines being written anymore. Now that you've got, you know, now that you've got shows where you're only in front of your NXT talent as your crowd, you know, 15, 20 people, storyline writing is now more important than ever.
It very
you know,
much
it's
is.
got to be there, and I will say it has dramatically improved, you know, over the last, I'd say, 2 months, really since Mania, because they understand that if you can't write a good story right now, you know, you're going to lose something in your matches simply because there's no one there.
It's not just you're going to lose something in your matches. You're going to lose a lot of people. People are going to be turned off. They're going to. What did I used to do when I didn't like a show? Mute it. I used to mute it and find something else. You don't want people doing that.
Right. Or in our case, hey, we got little ones. We split screen, and you know,
Exactly.
the sound is on, you know,
one side,
the baby first channel, or you know, whatever. Hey, free shout out. You know, or you know, whatever, ESPN, whatever we happen to put on.
Exactly.
And that's the one thing you don't want. So the storyline writing is getting better, and you can tell they're continuing to work, especially with this Bayley-Sasha storyline, and now throwing an extra twist of now adding the tag team titles in there as well. But, you know, as I said, you know, the go-home editions are going to be really good, but what's going to be good even before then is going to be the lineup of stuff we've got coming up this weekend, getting ready for NXT In Your House, which will be our first takeover. So something new for us. We're going to see if maybe we can add a little twist to it, but we do have a lot of material coming up. Of course, as I've already mentioned a couple of times, about maybe 10 to 15 minutes after this, we're going to have a special live edition of Plate Exchange. Had one earlier this week. Got a lot of publicity. By the way, free shout out to Kaylee Ray, the NXT UK Women's Champion, who personally reached out to me and told me what a fantastic job the UK Women's title looks like now with her KLR plates on them. You have no idea how much that means to us when we are, you know, very new to this, very fledgling still at this. So to get a direct shout out from such a great champion, and more importantly, just a great person, was amazing. So Kaylee, I don't know if you'll see this episode, but one more time, directly from my lips to your ears, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We got so much good publicity, almost all of it positive, and it does nothing but just warm our hearts that people are paying attention to this. And,
they are.
We thank you again, and all of our new followers who joined us because of this. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you stick around, because we really do have fun things to talk about. And for those of you who joined us for Plate Exchange, you're about to get another great one as we now introduce our new women's tag team champions. So we've got that coming up here in a few minutes. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, we've got Questions with the Queen, NXT Takeover edition. So have your questions ready. You can submit them to us through our Twitter, through Instagram. You can join us and add your question in at the time if you want. But be sure to join us live. Of course, all of our shows are uploaded onto the YouTube channel, also called On the Ring Apron, afterwards. And then tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so that's 4 if you're on the West Coast, 2 if you're in Hawaii, whatever you want to go with, is our Top Rope spoilers for Takeover in your house, where we will go over the entire Takeover card and make our picks. Always very popular. Also a lot of fun in there. So we'll see how it comes out with our first Takeover. What do you think?
I'm excited. I'm excited, especially for the women's matches. I mean, nothing taken away from anything else, but those are the 2 matches I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, 2 good ones on the card, but we'll be going over all of that tomorrow. But anyway, I know for anybody who's joined us getting ready for those new plates, we're getting ready to get there in a minute. So let us wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining us again on our Go Home edition for NXT Takeover in your house. We're looking forward to all the material we're bringing you guys this weekend, and of course, just like you, we're looking forward to the pay-per-view itself.
Yes.
You know, let's get to it. I'm hyped. You know, the win tonight, has got me all jittery, so I'm ready to go.
Well, it's not coffee, but okay.
No, too late for coffee. Because after I'm like my kids, I'll just crash once all of the energy wears off. But either way, y'all have a great night. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be seeing you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of your night. Kia, take us home.
Bye, y'all. Have a good night. Mwah, mwah.